Hey guys, I'm back with another video, and today I wanted to talk with you about what I think are my tier lists for the Saints Row series. What is my favorite game in the Saints Row series? Well, if you've been watching my channel long enough and you've been listening to me long enough, you probably already know what it is. But I want to give you my thoughts on each game, just quick little notes about each game and why I feel the way I feel about each one. Now I'm going to go from the bottom and work my way up to the top to make this a little easier for everyone. So let's start off with my least favorite in the series, not counting the spin-offs because I've never played them. Let's go with the first one at the bottom, which is Saints Row Gat Out of Hell. And the reason I don't like it is probably for the reason you expect it to be. It's just not that good. It really, to me, it's not that good. I mean, I get what they were going for, the whole musical angle, the selling point of playing as Johnny Gat or Kinsey, and that's nice, that's fine, but to me, it really just didn't feel like a Saints Row game at all. It didn't feel like a Saints Row game that I would necessarily enjoy, or any Saints Row game that I would actually introduce to anyone that really wanted to get into the series. I wouldn't introduce this game to somebody that walked up to me on the street and said, "Hey, do you want to play Saints Row? I want to play Saints Row. What do you suggest that I start with?" It definitely wouldn't be this game at all. Now, the gameplay is alright. The flight mechanic is kind of janky at times, and it's just not my cup of tea. But if it's yours, great. I mean, that's fine. Jezebel was alright. She was an alright character, but for one and done, I mean, yeah. But other than that, the flight mechanics weren't all that great. Let's not even go into the fact of how you killed Dex after all this time trying to kill him in the mainline games, and everyone wanting you to get to that story, and everyone wanting to get to that story, and then it just gets thrown away in a wasteful side mission that all you have to do is just kill a husk in the middle of the road. It's not really that fulfilling. So that's my main reasons why this game is at the very bottom of my list. Now, the next to last one on my list is surprisingly Saints Row the Third. Now, there's a reason for that, and I'll get into that right now. I don't see myself playing Saints Row the Third as much as I used to. When I first played it, and let's give a little context here, this was the first Saints Row game I ever played. I started my Saints Row journey with the third game. I loved it back then. I thought it was funny. I thought it was hilarious. I thought that it really had a great gameplay style. I liked the aesthetics. I liked how Steelport looked at the time. And it was a really great game for me to play. But as the times went on, as the years went on, especially as I played the other games, I kind of felt like it was okay, but it wasn't the best. There could have been moments in the story that didn't need to be there. There are certain things that didn't really need to be taken like they should have been taken. The characters were great. Kinsey was funny. Oleg brought something interesting to the table. The story about how Viola got into the Saints was something. Stag being an enemy was a really great twist. I really liked some of the activities. I liked how insurance fraud was back. I liked that aspect of it. But in terms of the city itself, and we've talked about this before, Steelport was not the best city at all. It really didn't feel alive. It was a big city, yeah, but outside of that, really, what was it? Like, the NPCs weren't all that original, and that's saying a lot considering that most open world games don't really have original NPCs these days anyways, but still, it wasn't really the best. You couldn't really go into any of the buildings except for your cribs or stores. The buildings just seemed lifeless, and just emotionless, if that makes any sense. And I'll get to the comparison when we get to my number one game, but it really wasn't all that great. I mean, the customization was okay, the cars looked great, like I said, the story was alright. Didn't need to have some of the parts in it that it did, but to me, I go back to this every now and then, but it isn't really in my top tier. It's in some people's top tiers because they started with Saints Row the Third, and that's great. That's fine. If you like it, then you like it. This is just my opinion and my opinion alone, and there you go. Now, I won't spend too much time talking about the next on my list, but the next on my list is Saints Row 4. And the reason is because I feel like Saints Row 4 had a much better story than Saints Row the Third. It was a lot more streamlined, mostly because it only focused on one person, and that was Zinyak. The whole parody thing of space genres and stuff like that, that was fine, I guess. The superpowers, I think, made the gameplay a bit too easy for a Saints Row game. Especially considering that once you power it up all the way and you leveled up all of your powers, you were pretty much unstoppable through the entirety of the game. And the characters in this game, I still feel like Johnny wasn't really Johnny, and Johnny only was brought back to appease the people that were upset that he got killed off in Saints Row the Third. But other than that, the set pieces were interesting. The look back on like Fun Shandy and taking on a giant Saints Flow can in Pierce's thing, and the story with Ben King going back to Stillwater, at least a small portion of Stillwater, and all of that was pretty neat, and it kind of edges out Saints Row the Third for me. It was a little too campy. And as another YouTuber that I follow said, it kind of made fun of itself. I think Saints Row the Third and Saints Row 4 just blatantly made fun of itself for the game it was, and that's not really what Saints Row has been about. It never made fun of itself. There was wacky moments, there was comedy, but it was never where the game intentionally laughed at itself through the entirety of the game, like in Saints Row 4 and Saints Row the Third, especially Saints Row 4. But it's still a good time. You know, I can still go in and play every so often and fly around the city, even though it's just a virtual Steelport and it's even more dead and lifeless than actual Steelport was. But it's still a good time to me. I still enjoy it from time to time, and that's why I can safely say it edges out the Third for me on my list. Now, the next game on my list is Saints Row 1. And Saints Row 1 had a really great story. It had a really great arc. I liked it. I played bits and pieces of Saints Row 1, by the way, but I haven't played through the entire thing. But I know about the story. I know where it goes. I know how things have worked in that game. And that was the starting point of Saints Row, obviously. This was the foundation that they laid when making this franchise. And that's why I say about the reboot that it's the same way. It's a franchise start. It's the beginning. It's a foundation of where they want to go in the future. And that's exactly what Saints Row 1 was. You couldn't play as a female character. It was only a male boss. The male boss didn't talk except for maybe 4 lines in the entire game, in the entire story, and that's it. The story laid the foundation for the rest of the series, which I can appreciate and I like. I like the story. I like the characters. I like Johnny Gat. I love Lynn, and everyone else loves Lynn too. Donnie was an important figure when you go and back and look at the next game. Everything just fit together so well. The story about the Vice Kings and the Carnales and everything in between. The Rollers was a wonderful story, especially with Lynn involved. Everything just fit together so well. And then the cliffhanger at the end, where you really didn't know where the story was going to go at that point. It all blended together so well. Gameplay could have been better and smoother, but that was something that they fixed in the next game. But in terms of an overall package, Saints Row 1 was pretty good, in my opinion. And something that I would recommend, if possible, if it's able for you to play. I know it's on the Xbox Game Store. I know it's on the Game Pass, I believe. So there's ways you can play it, is basically what I'm trying to say. And then there's my number one, and that is Saints Row 2. And I spoke about this in my last discussion video on why Saints Row 2 is the best, but I'm just going to give you a little short summary here. All the gameplay that they took from Saints Row 1, they refined it and they made it better in this game. Stillwater is miles better than what it was in Saints Row 1. The NPCs are more alive in this game. You can actually pick more stuff up in this game, like street signs, cinder blocks, anything that you could probably pick your hands on, you can probably pick it up in this game. There's more places to go into, more enterable buildings like the mall that I really enjoyed. The story was wonderful. It still holds a special place in my heart to this day about the entire story. Could there have been things that were a little bit better about the story? Obviously. But in terms of what we got, it was awesome. The 3 gangs were great. Lots of character moments, lots of character development between all the members of the Saints, even the enemies, even the bosses. Ultor at the end was a great twist, great subplot for the entire story up until the very end when you shot Dane out of the window, a la Saints Row 1, and shoots him out the window of his large penthouse and he flies all the way to the bottom. Very, very great story. The graphics obviously won't hold up today because this is a 2008 game. It won't hold up today. And a lot of people, just some people, think that the game is overrated. And that's your opinion, like I said. But to me, I feel like the story, the characters, the customization, everything, the way Stillwater just feels alive, like you can actually see yourself living there, just makes it my number one for me. So where does this leave the reboot? Well, like I said in my last discussion video, I think the reboot should be able to stand on its own 2 feet. The old series that I just mentioned is gone. It's not coming back. The story is done. The characters aren't coming back other than little Easter eggs, but that's it. This is a brand new story. These are brand new characters. This is just a brand new game. And from the reception that it's been getting lately, I feel like people are finally starting to come around, not just to the characters, but to this story itself, to the idea that this is brand new, that this is a new start for Saints Row. And I'm happy about that. I'm happy that the chance that Volition has taken with this game and putting all their eggs into this basket is starting to pay off. And I hope that this game, I'm 95% sure that this game is going to sell very well. That it may not reach Saints Row the Third heights of how well that game sold, but in terms of selling to a modest degree, to a degree that they are happy with and they're proud of, and they say, okay, let's keep going with this, I think it's going to happen. I really believe that. And I'm confident that a lot of people are going to be surprised by this game and how it does. And it's going to end up on people's tier list as well. And I may come back and do a revised version of this once I get my hands on the reboot and I actually take a look at it and get some thoughts on it. But for right now, as of now, Saints Row 2 is my favorite, followed by Saints Row 1, Saints Row 4, Saints Row the Third, and Gat Out of Hell. That's my tier list as of right now. What are your tier lists? What's your thoughts? What is your favorite game in the old Saints Row series? And why? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you guys once again for listening to another video, and I'll catch you in the next one. Talk to you guys later. Before I go, I want to say thank you to my Patreon subscribers, as you can see on the screen right now. If you want to have your name on this list and shouted out at the end of each video and at the end of each episode of the Flowcast, go to patreon.com. The link is down in the description below. $1 or more gets you a shout out, and $5 or more gets you full access to all of my content early before anyone else. So go to patreon.com right now and subscribe today.